the Yankees-Red Sox rivalry, they're having a scrooge off. It's like, which one of us can spend the least amount of money and still be okay? Hello and welcome to Baseball Barbacast, the only baseball podcast in the world who thinks they should call it the winter meetings. I'm Jake Mintz. That's Jordan Shusterman. They're all winners in my book.
Yeah, we're going to see. I don't know what it would mean to win these meetings. That is something that every year when we descend upon some large hotel resort in some random American city and we wonder who's going to win the week? Who's going to dominate these meetings? Who's going to meet the most people? That's kind of what we're thinking about here at the Winter Meetings 2025 in the great city of Orlando, Florida. We flew in yesterday morning from Santo Domingo, which we will talk about later on in this episode of Baseball Barbacast, but it's Monday morning, and we have to preview these here winter meetings. Let's get to it. It's our opener.
It is baseball's annual winter jamboree, where the entire industry waits around for one of three different guys to tweet something out. And that's it. We all flew here to Orlando so that, like, Jeff Passan could tweet some stuff. Could have been a meeting. Could have been an email. But yet we're here because to have the industry in one place, and this is what I love the most about the winter meetings, to see all these other people that care about the thing that we care too much about is a nice refilling of the give a crap meter.
Yeah. And it's a good balance, right? You know, we are fortunate enough to see our media folks throughout the season, our fellow media friends in our respective cities, at the All-Star Game, at the World Series. We didn't cover the GM meetings, but that's obviously another opportunity for that. But when you throw in the team personnel component, and also just like the random baseball adjacent or just baseball related people, which includes former players, which includes people that are on TV, which includes people that work in baseball in ways that you've never even thought about.
Sure.
It's a fun blend of human beings in one place.
And then you get certain things like Jordan got his room yesterday during check-in before Cliff Floyd.
And before seemingly everybody. I don't know why my room was ready because I don't know what I did deserve. But yeah, that was a storyline to watch. Some weather impacted some travel yesterday. Again, most people listening to this, they don't care about that. But when you're here in the moment, that's what people are talking about, especially as you're kind of settling in on Sunday and waiting for something to happen. It is funny that you mentioned we're waiting for a couple of those, a very select group of people to post anything. Among those people, I did see John Heyman many times. I saw Bob Nightingale many times. I saw Ken Rosenthal many times. Did not see Jeff Passan once. Did not see Big Bob Murray once. I wonder if they're cooking something up. Again, you can start speculating stuff. That's the other silliest part about the winter meetings. Once you do start seeing team personnel, when you see, certain GMs shuffle by quickly or a certain guy on the phone and you're like, oh, this is it. This is happening. Clearly, this is happening. This is not just him like talking to his wife about his kid's, soccer game. Like, this is obviously going to be the biggest trade of the week that's going down right now, right? No, probably not.
Usually not. But what we're going to do for this is just what's on our minds as we enter these winter meetings. They are really like the start of the winter, right? We have had some moves. We've had some trades. And we'll get to a couple of the interesting trades we had over the last week or so. We've had Josh Naylor sign, right? We've had Dylan Cease sign. But this is really where it all begins in earnest. And so I think what I want to do is just like, what is on your mind? Like, what are the baseball things as you sit around with all these baseball people and talk about, in your case, the 38th best prospect in the A's system?
Yep.
What is on your mind besides that?
Yeah, I think that like one of the things that as the winter goes along, you mentioned that this is sort of the beginning of something. I think what's most important about that is that once you get past this week, like this is when the spotlight on the teams that haven't done anything or really aren't doing anything among the ones that we always talk about. This is when it's like, hey, wait a minute. The Phillies have literally done nothing. It's like, okay, like we know what they're trying to do. It's no secret about what their goals are. But I think the contrast of like who has actually accomplished anything yet, for better or for worse, starts to become way more clear. And I think now that said, even the teams that have done stuff, you talk to their fans or their writers or whatever, and they still feel like, oh, like still got to do more, right? Like we're going to talk about what the Mariners did over the weekend with their trade, and they've obviously already signed Josh Naylor, the second largest free agent contract that we've seen given out this winter. And yet even then it's like, okay, well, what's next? What's next? What's next? Because that's what everyone's just kind of waiting for is what is next? Who is the team that is going to step forward and make us talk about them?
Yeah.
But to your point, and in this case, because there hasn't really been that much yet, there's a lot of candidates for those teams. And I'm really thinking about it more in the context of teams and just being like, they got work to do. Or, you know, like this has to happen for this roster to function, and we're just kind of waiting to find out what that means.
It's also useful for like what's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like Kyle Tucker is not signing this week, right?
Sure doesn't seem like it.
Yeah. Sure doesn't seem like it, right?
Yeah. But the funny thing about that is like, I know everyone, you know, writes their winter meetings preview, and it did seem the sentiment was like, okay, Schwarber is the one to watch this week.
Right.
And I feel like this happens. It feels like this, and I don't, again, the risk of recording in the winter meetings is how quickly is anything going to be outdated. But it is interesting that like throughout the off season, we kind of just like shift our attention to different people and be like, all right, it's your turn to do it. And whether that's actually true as to how it's unfolding behind the scenes or not is sometimes completely not in line with reality. But Schwarber seems to be the main character. We always kind of decide during the winter, like, well, he has to sign before anybody else signs. It's like, okay, I guess. I don't really know why that's totally true. It sort of makes sense with the Phillies and some of the other teams involved. But he seems to be the one that people are wondering about, because it does seem to be like a lot of teams are involved. And can any of them outbid the Phillies is really what the question is.
We had some like Schwarber Pirates chatter, and maybe this is out. Maybe he's on the Pirates by the time you're listening to this. Not to rain on that parade, but I don't think so. I just can't see that one. I doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. I mean, it makes sense to me from the Pirates' perspective, but if you're the Pirates, you really got to sell the vision. Kyle Schwarber, that's a meeting you got to nail. You got to crush that one.
Yeah. But either way, so Schwarber's one. And then, what are the teams that I think Yankees budget talk? Obviously, there are a lot of people here that are just talking and thinking about the Yankees. Duh. Whether that's fans, whether that's, you know, Talking Jake, whether that's the Yes Network, whether that's all the writers that cover the Yankees. Them being a team of just like, how many moves do they have in them? Because like, well, Trent Grisham, man, I mean, those $22 million, that's might as well
could have saved the world.
$20 million.
That's how some people are acting. They're like, man, if Trent Grisham had signed, like we could have cured the common cold.
Think of all the good we could have done in the world. It's like, okay.
That money was going to UNICEF. It's
yeah,
like, well,
but nope. Now Trent Grisham's gonna try to replicate his career year. So Yankees for sure. And then the Mets having already done a couple things, but
let me hop in on the Yankees. The Yankees Red Sox rivalry. They're having a Scrooge off. Like, it's like, which one of us can spend the least amount of money and still be okay? Right? That these two teams are not bullying the rest of the league just remains a baffling dynamic to me. That
Toronto's turn, baby.
And I do believe, like, I do think that the Yankees really have a budget. Like, not like a strict, like, don't go over this dollar figure, but like, they are financially limited. And those limitations could preclude them from signing players that would help them. And it's really a bizarre world to live in, where the team that presumably for 99% of the sport existing has made the most money is like, you know what we can't do is sign Cody Bellinger and this other player, right? That's weird. That's just like, I really struggle to wrap my head around that.
They can prove us wrong. There's a lot of things that are said and unsaid and assumed about teams' budgets during the winter, and sometimes they just show up and spend the money anyway. So we will see what happens with that. I mean, I mentioned Schwarber. I'm really interested in just talking to people around the game about, you know, the three Japanese players we have coming over, most notably because we've had virtually no Murakami in particular, like team connection buzz. And I don't think that's an accident. The fact that he's with Excel, which is not a company which has a lot of the top free agents, we should mention, but that is not the agency. That is not necessarily an agency that is, out there telling everybody what they're doing. But I mentioned him specifically because his deadline to sign is in 2 weeks from today, whereas Imai and Okamoto is after the new year, so there's a little bit more wiggle room there. But presumably, we're going to start to get a sense for the Murakami market sooner rather than later, and we already know how polarizing he is. So I'm just excited to talk to other, obviously, media people, but also people around the game to just what do they think about this guy, because that he is just fun to talk about.
Usually, when we're talking, thinking, evaluating Japanese players, they're really in the scope of the industry. There are not that many people who have seen these players in person, right? Like, we're going off video and vibes and, whatever Lance Brzezinski
we got
says online.
Yuri's got us covered, sure.
We love Yuri. Yuri's one person, right? Yuri's one person. And so it's very difficult to develop an opinion and a perspective on these players when we're not watching them day in, day out. And then we come to the winter meetings and there's 30 international scouting directors, all of whom have spent an outrageous amount of time in their lives probably thinking and watching these players. And their opinions are, with all due respect to Yuri, probably going to have slightly more of an impact on where these guys end up.
Yeah, and I think what's most fun about that is that, in the past for an Ohtani or even a Roki, because it didn't cost anything, it was easy for everyone to be yeah, just get him. Or even Yamamoto, it's okay, either we're going to give him the most money or we're not, and either he wants to come here or not. No one's debating that this guy is going to be freaking unbelievable. Whereas this year, it's for the people whose job it is to tell their owners, hey, you should give this guy who hasn't played in MLB over $100 million. With both Imai and Murakami, there's reasons to be are you sure you want to be we should do this? Or, maybe it's going to be worthwhile. So we're going to see.
I think there are certain teams as a result that are just nope. Yep. Too much risk, too much whiff. People will be I don't want to lose my job that I like because I told my boss to tell his boss that we should sign Murakami for $120 million, right?
Yeah, but I think Imai I think he's going to get more money than Murakami. But
I think I agree.
But I also think that he also comes with more risk than I think he's benefiting from the lack of other starting pitchers in the market, and the relative, especially now that Cease's already signed. I think Imai is now getting boosted in a way. I'm excited about him, obviously, but whatever. So those are the guys I'm excited to talk to about other people about him. And then trades are those are really what's fun. I think the other thing about the winter meetings is that's really the buzz, in the lobby around, is when trades start to happen or it's starting to get pieced together. Because you can't say, again, I always say this every winter. It's yeah, these guys are going to sign at some point, and the teams you can sort of expect roughly who they're going to be. And so when it happens, it's okay, got it. Check that one off when you move on. As we'll talk about here in the second segment, the trades, you're not gonna cook them up. So those are always more fun when you be oh, right. And of course, last year with the crochet one a year ago was obviously a huge deal and very fun to kind of be around for. But we've had a few of those, and the Soto one 2 years before that kind of happened as everyone was leaving the winter meetings. But yeah, that's my favorite part is the trades.
What actually happens this week?
Yeah, so we have, again, maybe we'll have a bunch of transactions, maybe we won't, but the things we know for sure is that everyone's here. All 30 managers will have a 20 to 30 minute media session. That's important because that includes a ton of new ones, but most notably Tony Vitello, who we have said many times since he was hired by the San Francisco Giants. Wow, I cannot believe that Tony Vitello is going to sit in front of a microphone 500 times a season as opposed to 100. But this is the yeah. And this is the start, right? I know he's had his press conference and he's done some interviews, but this will really be the introduction to the casual baseball media member. I think that's important. Like, I think that there's really what we've talked about is just the disconnect between Major League Baseball and college baseball and like how that's shrinking. And I think that it'll be interesting to see if Tony's sessions, which I think is like one of the last ones on Tuesday, they split it up between Monday and Tuesday, if there's like notably more people at his little thing than probably all of the other ones. And I would imagine, depending on what else is going on, then that very well could be the case. So that I'm excited for. And then you got the draft lottery, you got the Rule 5 draft. We don't have to go in detail on that. I mean, the draft lottery is fun and interesting because, you know, we've had some surprises. We've had the Guardians jump up with 2% and get the first overall pick. This year, it's the White Sox, the A's, and the Twins have the best chances. Notably, that does not include the Nationals or the Rockies, who are not eligible for the draft lottery because they're not eligible for reasons I'm not going to explain right now. But the point is,
they didn't do anything wrong.
No, they didn't do anything wrong. It's just some of the lottery rules restrict certain market sizes from getting lottery picks certain years in a row. And so the Rockies with their 119 losses will not be a part of this. Just like the A's and the White Sox, same thing.
The other important thing that will happen over the next couple of days is we will get Scott Boras's Netflix special.
We don't know.
2025.
Yeah. We don't have an official timing for that. That usually is kind of like, that's another thing where everyone just like starts to whisper to each other like, oh, the backdrop's getting set up. They're hustle over there.
By the big Christmas tree.
Yeah. So I'm trying to picture where in the lobby I think he's going to do it. We'll figure that out. That'll be a talking point when we go downstairs today. But then we also have one other thing that actually did happen. Is there anything else you would want to look forward to? Should we talk about Jeff Kent for a couple minutes?
Well, I was going to say, here's a transition. One thing that no one we talked to last night in the lobby was talking about, with all due respect, is Jeff Kent made the Hall of Fame. Now, that is probably a reflection of our own perspectives on Jeff Kent, which are, I played with the 2004 Astros on MVP 2005. And that's it.
How was he?
He was good. Maybe he was the best hitter on that team. Like, him and Berkman, they were really fun to use.
Jake's in the 16-person committee, and he's like, I just want to raise something. You know, I played with him in MVP 05.
He was good.
They're like, Jake, thank you for contributing. We really appreciate
Jake.
that insight.
Back to Paul Molitor.
So
Robin Young.
Ozzie Smith, what do you think? We previewed the Veterans Committee ballot, the 8 players that were on it. We kind of thought that Dale Murphy, Don Mattingly would be the players that would have a better chance of getting in. Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens are, of course, the biggest names on it. Not the first time they've been on this ballot. Did not get close last time.
We were half right and half wrong. Because I think I made this point and you agreed with me, is that when all these people get into a room to put someone in the Hall of Fame, they're going to put someone in the Hall of Fame, right? They're going to pick someone. And the reason we were wrong is that at no point did you or I consider that it would be Jeff Kent.
I think the reason why we should have taken Jeff Kent more seriously is because, if they did narrow it down to players. Now, again, everyone could vote for up to 3 of the 16-person committee, so presumably it's not like they could only vote for Jeff Kent. But Jeff Kent getting, I think, 14 of 16 votes. Carlos Delgado getting the second most votes, I think, is very interesting because that suddenly makes him someone that, like, that tells me that the people in that room and, like, the average Veterans Committee member thinks Carlos Delgado was freaking awesome. And, like, that means that he only needs 3 more votes the next time he's on one of these committees to get in. Great. But for Jeff Kent, if you compare the careers with Don Mattingly and Dale Murphy, I think we were like, okay, well, was Jeff Kent as culturally relevant as Mattingly for sure, and then Dale Murphy in terms of like the peak. But in terms of the longevity and the resume, they're pretty similar, and Jeff Kent was just better for longer, and he has the easier headline of like, I have the most home runs of any second baseman ever. That was his main candidacy when he was on the writer's ballot. It obviously was not enough, but I do think that statistically he was closer to a like understandable case. And it's interesting to me that by that notion and maybe statistical standards, that this committee that maybe we didn't think would be digging into the difference in WAR totals between Jeff Kent and Don Mattingly, maybe they did that, maybe not. Maybe Tyler Kepner was like, hey guys, have you ever checked out this Fangraph site?
This stuff's sick. Ozzie Smith's, I use it every day.
Right. So that seems to looks like it more carried the day here, which is interesting. But whatever. Again, like we can't pretend to have strong feelings about it. It's surprising because we didn't spend any time talking and thinking about him. But it was his first time on this ballot, and now he gets in, and sure, Jeff Kent. There are worse players in the Hall of Fame. I'll say that.
If you were in the room, what would your argument have been
for Jeff Kent?
No, for anybody. Like what?
Oh, well,
because I'm just saying, like, you and I obviously think that Bonds and Clemens, like, we would put them in.
Sure.
But are you really going to sit in a room and try and convince Ozzie Smith of that? Like, that sounds.
Well, like I don't know. That's the thing. And let's again, congrats to Jeff Kent. So now we know he's getting in. Based on the writers' ballot projections, which we'll get to later this offseason, smells like it's going to be Kent and Carlos Beltran. Kind of
which, by the
couple,
way,
but sure,
odd couple. Teammates,
yeah,
on the 2004 Astros
that you just mentioned on your MVP
just mentioned.
How about that? Okay,
and
that's true.
What is funny about that is, like, if I said, "Yeah, a couple of Astros getting in," you'd be like, "What?"
Well, also you'd be like, Carlos Beltran. That's actually super clutch for him because it's like Carlos Beltran, Astros. 2004. Don't worry about 2017. Not
what?
That never
I don't know him.
Let's just focus on 2004. That was more fun.
So, Jeff Kent, do you think he gets a cap in the Hall? You think he's wearing a Giants cap?
Yeah, I would be pretty shocked if he wasn't.
I mean, he was only there for 6 years.
Yeah, Mets for 5. But I don't. In this case, I would be. Unless he's got some sort of beef with I would be shocked if he's not wearing a Giants hat. But I don't know. We'll see. So anyway, congrats to Jeff Kent. And then finally here on this, just because, again, it's like, okay, well, what about Bonds and Clemens? That's the only thing we care about. So we alluded to this when we previewed this committee ballot, but they changed the rules recently involving this ballot, which is that if you get less than 5 votes out of the 16, you are not eligible to be on the ballot in consecutive cycles. Now, this specific one, based on the era that is being considered and the players that are, it's based on when you played, is the contemporary era, is every 3 years, which means that when they do this again in 2028, Bonds and Clemens cannot be on there. However, even though they didn't get 5 votes when they were on it 3 years ago, I guess that doesn't count as one of their times that they did it. And so they will have one more chance in 2031 at the earliest for them to get
another one,
which is a long time from now. And so maybe by then, really nobody cares about steroids, although I doubt the people on this committee are going to feel that way. But as we said before, it was not trending. We did not expect them to get close to getting inducted here. I guess this is also a quick place to mention that Gary Sheffield kind of did let me talk to some national writers and tell them that I wasn't a cheater. You can take that for what you want. That's fine. You can believe him. You can read his explanation and say, wow, that's true. He got screwed. That's fine. We don't need to get into the nitty-gritty of that. But the point is that clearly the committee was not swayed by that with Gary Sheffield because he didn't get much support in this either. So whether that changes in the future, who knows? But if you were hoping for this to give you good signs for your favorite players, Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens, to be in the Hall of Fame, that's not where this is heading.
They did steroids?
I don't know. Never,
what am I supposed to tell my kids?
Just be like, hey, watch these home runs. It was really cool. All right. That is
watch
what
these
is
home runs
happened.
that Roger Clemens gave up. It was really cool.
We will see what else happens this week. All right. We're going to take a break. When we return, we do have a couple transactions to talk about. 2 trades and a signing. We'll be right back on Baseball Barbacast.
And welcome back to Baseball Barbacast. Let's go around the league. A deal has been dealt. And who else to deal the dealings, to trade the tradings, to transact everywhere and anywhere at any time than Mariners president of baseball operations, Jerry Dipoto, whose club acquired left-handed pitcher Jose A. Ferrer, middle name important, from the Washington Nationals in exchange for catcher Harry Ford and right-handed pitching prospect Isaac Lyon. Jordan, you are someone who thinks about the Mariners most days. Do you have thoughts about this trade?
Nah, doesn't seem like anyone has many feelings about it. So I think we can move on to Tyler Samaniego. Let's talk about this. So I honestly, like a year and a half, I've been like, man, Andres Munoz is pretty awesome. Matt Brash is pretty awesome. I know some other guys have showed up in the Mariners bullpen over the years, but less so recently. And it's like, okay, he can help. But they've felt an arm short or two for a while. And I was saying that long before the thing that happened in Game 7 of the World Series. Or Game 7
I missed that.
Game 7 of the ALCS, of course. But specifically, Gabe Spire was really like, he's very good, but he was the only lefty. They traded for Caleb Ferguson. That was okay in the regular season. Clearly did not help in the postseason. And so left-handed relief help was something that they were going to do this winter. That was a thing that Justin Hollander was very open about it after in the kind of postmortem. They were like, listen, yes, we do. We agree. We get it. We need to add more to the bullpen. And I do think that while they clearly entertained trades, I think they considered some lower level signings, whether it was like a Hobie Milner, trade for another guy with maybe just 1 year of control, like a Jojo Romero. Matt Strom, certainly a target as well. Jose Ferrer, while he is the A, might as well stand for anonymous. It's Alexander, in case you're wondering. Apparently there's a lot of other Jose Ferrers, which I think is why he's going with the initial. That's like not a joke. You can look that up on Wikipedia.
No, yeah. I just searched Jose Ferrer in my texts, and I have a long back and forth with your brother about all the other Jose Ferrers.
Oh, that's funny. Okay, I like that. I mean, I'm kind of feeling some FOMO about that conversation. That sounds like fun. But anyway, because he is his ascent, whatever that means, which is just like being in the big leagues briefly with the Nationals, has come with the Nationals, which has just been one of the three least relevant teams in the league, since Juan Soto was traded. And especially like NL East, AL West. Mariners fans are not going to know who Jose Ferrer is. Like, I totally understand that. But this dude's got some serious stuff. I mean, he's one of the hardest throwing left-handers in the league. It's an elite ground ball rate. Can the Mariners infield defense take advantage of that? We'll see. But it's also the kind of pitcher where you can imagine the Mariners being like, hey, the Nationals maybe weren't getting the most out of Jose Ferrer. And for a guy that throws that hard, who's under team control for 4 more seasons at a very obviously low cost for now, it's about as good of a relief addition that you're going to make without spending real money. We can talk about the Harry Ford side of this in a second, but in terms of the addition of Jose Ferrer to this bullpen, it is a great move. I think I'm excited to see what they do with him, whether he throws more sliders, what role he kind of fits in, how they use him versus Spire versus Brash. It makes them better, and it's a clear need, and he would make them better. Like, obviously the left-handed element is important, but I'm just excited about him, the pitcher. The fact that he's lefty is cool. I just think that he's already good, and I think he makes the bullpen a legitimate strength. Like, that's the thing. They were one really good reliever from that being a legitimate strength instead of just like 2.5 guys. And
I also think that what he is fine, but what you're really trading for is what he could be, right? Like, I don't think you can look at Jose Ferrer's production and output in the big leagues and be like, oh, that's what the Mariners are getting, right? Like, I think that there is tons more here. I'm a huge fan of this guy as a pitcher. I think he's got legit high-lev, 8th inning stuff. I thought he was going to be an all-star this year.
Yeah, I mean,
my hot take in spring training with all the Nats people was Jose A. Ferrer all-star season.
Yeah.
Didn't end up happening. But, like, this is, in my mind, a no-brainer trade for both teams. This is, like, in a long while, just a trade where I was like, love this for everyone involved. Like, this is that. And I think it is worth talking now about the other half of the trade, Harry Ford, who, look, from the Mariners' perspective, just trade any catcher that's not Cal Raleigh.
Right.
Like, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Could they have gotten more? I don't know. You don't know. Maybe, maybe not. Like, this is a pretty good get for a guy that, guess what, wasn't going to play.
Yeah. And that's the thing. First of all, quickly, like, why would the Nationals trade Jose Ferrer? Because they're a bad team, and having good relievers on bad teams doesn't matter. What is important for the Nationals is to figure out who their catcher is going to be. And if Harry Ford can be that answer or part of that answer, then this will be great. I think, again, on the Harry Ford trade value element, right, he's just slowly kind of climbed the ladder, just had a good year in AAA, made his debut. He's a big name. Because of his time at the WBC, his name's Harrison Ford. He's a first rounder. He's, a first round pick and a top 100 prospect. It's not like his trade value was going to go up after getting 110 at-bats as the backup this year. They clearly have already been willing to trade him for, I think, over a year, and were unable to find something better than this. And I think, too, also, if you really want to, trade a catcher, they did also just draft another catcher in the second round, Luke Stevenson, that I think they're really excited about. So if you're just thinking about, like, who's going to be Cal's wingman as the backup catcher, they have another guy like that could be that. But that doesn't matter, because if you're worried about Cal Raleigh getting hurt and who the backup catcher is, you're missing the point. If Cal Raleigh gets hurt, that's the problem. It's not who the backup
the season's over.
It's that the best catcher in the league got hurt. Like, that is an issue that they will not overcome no matter who the backup catcher is. But either way, I think that for Harry Ford to now have an opportunity to prove it, when clearly there were a lot of other teams that also needed catchers that maybe could have traded for him, Tampa, a good example, that were like, I don't know. The Nationals are going to give him that chance, I think, and I hope, because the Nationals catching situation is kind of interesting. They have a good amount of money committed to Keibert Ruiz, who they extended under, obviously, the previous regime, for a deal that is not like, oh, God, how are we going to afford this? But for a player who has not been good, they have money owed to him guaranteed through 2030. And so does that mean that Keibert Ruiz is going to continue to start at, 100 games? Maybe in the short term. How ready do the Nationals believe Harry Ford is? I'm excited to talk to the Nationals about that this week, hopefully, right? This is something that we really do kind of have to get a sense for as to how ready they view Harry Ford. I imagine they would love for him to come in and win the job, or at least be one of the two catchers going into next season. And I'm rooting for him. I mean, Harry Ford's a really fun player, obviously a great athlete. His catching skills have been debated for sure. But
he's going to get a chance. Like, he's going to get a chance to play his offense. Here's how things would have played out if they didn't trade him, right?
Yeah.
He would have just been the backup catcher, playing 130 plate appearances a year.
30 games, if that.
And he probably would have had like a below average line, because it's really hard to
hit
a
once a week
catcher. And he would have been that for 3 years, and then it would have been like, is
now
Harry
what?
Ford good? Like, it would have stalled his development. Like, he needs at bats, right? Like, he needs.
Yeah.
So, like, as far as I'm concerned, I really cannot remember a trade that I was like, love it for both teams and both players, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is a good thing for Jose Ferrer's career,
I would think,
and a good thing for Harry Ford's career.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's right. Yeah. Well, certainly if the Mariners make him better. How many games will he be saving so that he can go to arbitration and say, I should make $3 million instead of $2 million, whatever. But yes, I would like to think that this is good for both. And yeah, for Harry Ford, I'm glad he will get a chance. It will not just be an idea. It's like, all right, dude, we need a catcher really badly. And if they can find a way to revive Keibert with the new coaching staff, that's also good. Again, having two good catchers would be fine. But there was no world where Harry Ford was going to reach his potential with the Seattle Mariners. It's in any time soon. That's just the reality, and that's fine. So good for that trade. Isaac Lyon, they literally just drafted him. Maybe the Nationals' new pitching gurus can get something out of a guy that was just taken in the 10th round. But yes, I think Mariners fans should be very excited about Jose Ferrer. I'm excited to watch him throw baseballs really hard. Lefties that throw 100, not a lot of them. They also don't have many lefties at all. So that is cool. All right, let's go to the next trade. I guess this one happened first, so we're kind of going not chronologically here, but the Boston Red Sox are always a team we are thinking about. What is going on there? What's their next move? Are they going to spend money, or are they going to make weird trades? Folks, they're going to make weird trades, and we have another one. They have of course, the second trade they've made to acquire a starting pitcher. Is Johan Oviedo the co-ace with Garrett Crochet? I don't think so. But Johan Oviedo, a big right-hander from the Pittsburgh Pirates, who was under team control for 2 more seasons, who just came back from Tommy John in the second half of this year,
Tank.
and this is a large lad, fits in
Tank.
with the other large lads on this pitching staff.
Peyton Tolley, you look like a child now.
Yeah, he is going to make Tolley look normal size. The Red Sox add to their rotation again. I don't understand anyone saying that, Oviedo is going to the bullpen. Like, no, I think that this is for him to be the 4 starter or the 5 starter. I think they can get more out of him. He really has one season of like being a major league starter, which was, I guess, right before his injury. So that would have been in 2023, I think, is when he started. Spent a whole year in the rotation with Pittsburgh. And they trade the password, Jostinson Garcia. Jostinson Garcia, who has gotten a lot of attention because that's his name, but also because he's hit a bunch of home runs in the minor leagues and has become a mostly consensus top 100 prospect. And we knew that coming into this offseason that the Pittsburgh Pirates would probably try and trade from their starting pitching depth for offense. And this is a version of that, which is trading a pitcher who is farther down your depth chart and also closer to free agency for a offensive piece in Garcia that you think can be important for you and also help right away as you try and not be a bad baseball team anymore. They also, I'm just going to quickly mention the pitcher that they got, Jesus Travieso, hearing a lot of really good things about him.
Yeah.
Like, the people, I think Pirates fans should be excited about him. The problem is that that's an A-ball pitcher who just does not matter to like what the Pirates are attempting to do right now, which is, as I just said, is to not be a bad baseball team anymore. So Garcia is way more important when we are analyzing this trade, and Oviedo as well. But which side do you want to kind of go with?
Let's start with the Red Sox. I think Oviedo's kind of awesome.
Yeah.
Like, he's
I think he could be really good.
Pitcher. Like, we were in the Dominican when this trade went down, and one of our buddies we were with saw the news. He goes, "What are the Red Sox doing?" And you and I were like, "I think getting better." I think they're getting better because, look, this is in some ways similar to the Harry Ford thing because it's like Garcia was never going to play for the Red Sox. They could have traded Duran and Abreu and like opened up a spot for him and given him the run.
He would have been the lefty masher. He could have been the Abreu platoon partner instead of Ref Snyder, right? That's what you were sort of looking at. But for him to reach the potential that he seemed to maybe be showing that he could be, which is an everyday outfielder, yes, for sure.
And it's like, okay, you have a glut of outfielders and you need starting pitching, depth. This is great. You're trading from a strength and you're getting a player that you think can be better than he is now. And that's similar to Ferrer, right? If you trust your pitching dev. Now, very different physical individuals.
Well, yeah. I'm also just remembering that, like, they traded Nick York for Quinn Priester. And we were saying pretty much the same things that we're saying right now, which is like, well, Nick York's never going to play in Boston. And Quinn Priester, maybe you can fix him. And then they just bizarrely immediately flipped him to Milwaukee and he shined there. But in this case, I think with Oviedo, I think they're buying in. They think he can be a sturdy rotation piece. You're buying the upside coming off the TJ, getting farther away from surgery. And yeah, Garcia, this is a good, chip to kind of cash in there, I think.
So at the end of last year, Oviedo started, and maybe this is my dumb perspective, started to kind of move in like Skeens. Like he was wearing the socks high, he's big as hell. He was doing that like Skeens shuffle walk off the mound. Where Paul like barely picks up his feet and like his arms kind of like Oviedo started doing that. And it was like, okay, a good guy to copy. I'm curious if he keeps that up, right? Does he just bring the Skeensiness to Boston?
I would think they would love to have someone even anything resembling Paul Skeens. That would be great for anybody. The Red Sox also get a couple other players in this deal, as I mentioned, lefty Tyler Samaniego. That's important because they did trade away Brand Bernardino, who's like pitched a lot for them recently, and that's just a lefty. They have a lot of lefties in their bullpen, so he'll be a big leaguer this year. And then Adonis Guzman, who's a minor league catcher, he will probably be a big leaguer someday. let's do Pittsburgh. I think that the thing that I like about this is that they identified a player clearly in Garcia that they're like, this is a guy. He could be a guy. As opposed to some of the other trades where they've kind of like spread it out and just kind of grabbed a bunch of stuff.
Hope one of these guys is maybe sort of a guy.
They're like, he's going to be a guy. Now, how optimistic am I that Garcia is going to be that? I got to be honest, I'm low on him, which breaks my heart for someone named Jostinson Garcia. But it's not a profile that, well, and also like the Pirates are fighting, like talk about having to prove that like you know how to turn good young players into actually good major leaguers. They don't have, they haven't done any of that. Hitters, right? And so they already have to prove that. But even with a completely neutral of the scenario, the Garcia profile, which is just like swing a lot and, you know, right-handed power, but it's not like, oh my God, raw power. It's just, and he's going to play left, you know, he's played some center field, but it seems like they're sticking with O'Neill. This, maybe because it is the Pirates, I'm skeptical, but I think process-wise, I like this more. And again, because it sounds like Travieso could be something really interesting. Maybe he's a top 100 prospect in a year and we're like, they got something. But right now, the fact that they are going to be like, hey, Garcia, you're the left fielder, man. Like, come hit 5th or 6th. I hope he can do it. I hope he can do that. He's the kind of guy, I just think that his approach could get exposed in a hard way. And I hope he's able to make the adjustments and become a good major leaguer, because I don't know. I'm just not as sold on him as a definite offensive piece.
It's like good food for cuisine I don't like. It's like I respect.
I get it. I know why there are people that like this. It's just not. I'm not quite there. So again, love to be wrong. We'll see what else the Pirates have in store. If you get Kyle Schwarber, I'm not as concerned about Jostinson Garcia, but obviously we don't think that's going to happen. All right, we have 2 signings we want to hit quickly before we take a break. One of which happened just before we started recording, so let's hit that quickly. That is the Diamondbacks signing Mike Soroka to a 1-year, $7.5 million deal. This is interesting to me, less so about Mike Soroka. I mean, this is kind of, he gets almost the same deal he got from the Nationals a year ago. He was not great, but, you know,
the takeaway here is, but the takeaway here is way, way more about the Diamondbacks. Because
that's what I'm saying. So that's what I'm saying.
Yes,
like Soroka,
this team needs people to
so
pitch
much
for it.
pitching. They need so much pitching, and they know that, and that is why they're contemplating trading Ketel Marte, which feels like an extreme measure. But we've already said this about them for a while, which is it's like you have a championship offense, even after trading away from it. And you could maybe still have a championship offense after maybe even trading Ketel Marte, but you're not going anywhere with the pitching staff that they currently have, which is projects to be one of the worst in baseball. As
who's their opening day starter?
I assume it's Erod, or no? I guess it's probably more likely Ryan Nelson.
This is kind of my point.
Yeah,
I
don't know. Am I forgetting
point,
someone?
Right? Like, nope. Yeah, you're not, and that's the problem, right? So like,
and the bullpen isn't any better.
No.
So
the Diamondbacks are good enough on the offensive side of the ball to compete. What they should be doing is just pulling off like 7 trades with the Pirates.
Yep. And maybe they're trying. But Brandon Pfaadt is there too. But that's the problem. They need so much pitching, bullpen rotation, and how they're going to do it. This is a very humble start, but they have so much more work to do there. So hopefully it goes better than it did with the Nationals, though. And then one more signing we have is, this happened last week, the Rays signed Cedric Mullins. This was also a little bit interesting after they signed Jake Fraley to a major league deal. So they already have added 2 left-handed hitting outfielders. And I got to be honest, I know you watched Cedric Mullins be very bad for the Mets at the end of the season. I mean, again, how he fits with the Rays, you know, who was going to play center field before this. They had Chandler Simpson out there. They've tried a couple other things. You know, they've had Jose Siri, Johnny DeLuca, whatever. I think that this is a great opportunity for Cedric Mullins to bounce back in a very real way. I would feel a lot better about it if he got to still hit in the Steinbrenner rather than the Trop. But I don't know. I don't think Cedric Mullins sucks now. I really don't. Maybe it's that simple. And 1 year for $7 million, like I just don't. I think he was solid for too long. That 2 months of being awful does not just completely say he is done. He is done as a major leaguer. I know that's sometimes how it works, but he's what, 30, 31? Like I don't think that he's someone that is just completely cooked. I really don't. Now, you could say that this contract says that maybe he is, because I thought he was going to do a lot better than this, and he didn't. But I don't know. I just think Cedric Mullins is still kind of good.
There was a version of a season he could have had where he would have gotten like $80 million.
Yeah.
You know, like he had enough platform years like leading up to the walk year. Where
well, also the Mets, there's a reason the Mets traded for him. Like they didn't, they didn't trade for him when he had a 60 OPS plus. They traded for him when he had a 106 OPS plus and was playing center field. Like it made sense.
Well, what's interesting about this too is like whenever the Tampa Bay Rays decide to spend any money on a free agent,
that's true.
It's like, wonder what they think that guy's doing. Something that I was thinking about, you and I were talking about the Guardians and how last free agency period they used all their money to get Carlos Santana and Paul Sewald. And it's like these teams that never sign any big players, but are good at everything else. When they sign a guy, we're like, oh, great idea. But it's like, are they good at that part of the game? Like,
right.
They're smart
but even
organizations.
More importantly, it's like when they screw those up, it's just like, God.
It's like
so
that's like 50%
that was your
of
move.
The payroll.
Yeah. So we'll see. But I don't know. I'm in on this. I'm buying Cedric Mullins. So I don't know if you have a longer thought about that. All right. That is, and I guess I assume he did not like go back to Baltimore in the second half. But he will get a nice ovation when he returns there with the Rays next year, as he deserves, because Cedric Mullins was a pretty cool Oriole for a long time. All right, we're gonna take a break. When we return, Sonny Gray hates the Yankees. We'll be right back.
And welcome back to the end of Baseball Barbacast. One quick thing we got to talk about. In the red corner, standing 5'11", 36 years old, Sonny Gray. In the pinstriped corner, Brian Cashman and the New York Yankees. Ding, ding, ding. Who you got?
In the other corner, I guess we have 2 more corners to work with. Yeah, Sonny Gray's agent, Bo McInnes. All right, so we didn't talk about this last week. Sonny Gray in his introductory Zoom, being like, hey, I'm on the Red Sox now. They were like, hey, Sonny, how you going to handle pitching in the big market, like where everyone's, really mad at you when you pitch bad? He's like, they're like, I didn't go so well in New York. Why is this going to be different? And it is worth noting, we did not mention this when we talked about the Sonny Gray trade. He had a no trade clause that he did choose to say, yes, I want to go to the Red Sox.
That is all notable, and I don't really think we talked enough about. Look, like can he handle the Big Apple narrative is with most players, I think, overdone.
Right, but we all know that him as a Yankee was a disaster.
He is in the group of people that we have seen where I genuinely believe that being in that environment made the player worse. Right, like him, Joey Gallo. Like that's kind of it. There's some others.
Whatever.
But,
I mean, this is we don't have to do that whole what that means, but we know that the Sonny Gray Yankees thing did not go well.
Did not go well. And I think it's a legitimate question of like, hey, that went really poorly because of reasons related to the size of the market and the way that the fans were demanding, and it affected him. And so to ask that question with him going to Boston is interesting. What did he say, Jordan? That was even more interesting.
He was like, I never wanted to go there in the first place. It wasn't my choice. They sent me there, and I didn't like live. Again, you're talking about the size of the market and the fans. Like, it also just sounds like the life of being in New York, which is not for everybody, admittedly, was not for him. That was a long time ago. Sonny Gray's, career has gone on. He's made more money. He has, I think, more children than he did then. He's older. He's wiser. He's experienced more stuff.
He's throwing softer.
Now he's like, cool, I'll go pitch in Boston. But based on his comments, which is saying like, I'm excited, like Now I get to be on a team where it's like I get to hate the Yankees for a living. That's great. I love this. It's like, whoa, okay. So then, of course, what does that mean? Yankees are like, well, hold on a second. You never want to come here. Well, then
it's like the meme, like me.
Well, what do you mean? So Brian Cashman's here in Orlando. They got the Yankees folks go talk to Brian Cashman. They're like, hey, dude, what's going on over here? You traded for Sonny Gray. You never wanted to come here? And Brian Cashman's like, he told me he did want to come here. He was telling his people. He was telling the minor league video coordinator that I want to be a Yankee. Sure. And then afterwards, he admitted, like, no, I really didn't. Like, I was just saying that's because my free agency was coming up, and I didn't want to make it seem like I didn't want to go to New York. And it's like, maybe some of that's true, maybe some of it's not. Rehashing the back and forth between these three from 8 years ago, not interesting to me. What is interesting to me now is that Sonny Gray is going to pitch against the Yankees 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 times next year. And as we have talked about on this podcast over the last half decade, like, all right, what is the status of Red Sox Yankees? Do we have something that is adding spice to this relative to where it used to be, 10, 15, 20 years ago? And now we have a very blatant Sonny Gray, who's a new Red Sox very late in his career, being like, yes, I am looking forward to beating the Yankees because I had a bad time there. And however we got there, whoever was lying, whoever
doesn't matter to
misheard, misunderstood, don't matter about that. I don't care. This is enough to be like, okay, I am now very excited to watch Sonny Gray pitch in New York next season.
The Yankees Red Sox rivalry is not as spicy as it once was. And over the last 3 months, we have gotten 2 fun, juicy little things that we can make bigger deals than they are next year between Cam Schlittler and Sonny Gray and the Yankees. It's great. Like, give me more of this. If you hate the Yankees, like in your heart, like deep in your heart, like you should go be with the Red Sox. And if you hate the Red Sox deep in your heart, you should just go be with the Yankees. Just for all of our entertainment's sake.
Versus Cam Schlittler. The schedule. Hopefully we can line it up. That'd be great.
Slight velo difference on the fastball.
Just a little bit.
Different kind of pitchers.
But Sonny Gray, yeah, great. Sonny Gray, I like this. And here's the other thing. It's like, this also just makes me excited for Sonny Gray to be somewhere where, this is no disrespect to St. Louis, but like, again, Sonny Gray was just kind of existing and pitching in St. Louis over the last few years, and he was not a character in the Major League Baseball space whatsoever. But now, clearly, Sonny Gray's willing to say some stuff at this point. And so, let's do it. Let's give us some guys that say some stuff. I love that. So, good for you, Sonny Gray. Brian Cashman definitely does not actually care about this at all. All right, he's like, oh, awesome. You want to ask me? Honestly, he was probably like, great, ask me about Sonny Gray. Like, I don't want to have to explain to you why we aren't doing anything else right now. Like, I'll talk about Sonny Gray. Sounds good. I'll tell him he's a liar. All right, we have one more thing to talk about. It's time for a little field report.
Jake and Jordan were in the Dominican Republic. Now we're not, but we were. And we watched 3 winter ball games down in DR. Had a lovely time. Met a lot of good people. Ate some good food. Watched some baseball. And we won't go beat by beat of all the things we saw. We did see a 9-8 game, which was really wonderful. But we witnessed something that I would say I will remember forever. And that was former New York Met pitcher Stephen Nagosic pitching 4 days in a row out of the Escogido bullpen. We then got here to the winter meetings. We're sitting at dinner last night, and Jordan all of a sudden looks like he's seen a ghost. And he shows me his phone, and it's Stephen Nagosic on the rubber for a 5th consecutive day. Something that we don't think has ever happened before.
And I would love to try and figure out if this has ever happened. I mean, even 4 in a row, which definitely has happened, is just nuts. But man, oh man, I can't believe it. And the fact that Escogido lost 4 of these 5 games is really tough. This is not a closer saving.
Not his fault.
Not his fault. I think only allowed 2 hits and 1 run during this 5 5-5.
5-5.
I think he was hitless in 4 of the 5 outings. Allowed 1 run in his second outing, but yeah, it's just absurd. Again, we just watched, Yamamoto just blew our minds with the no days rest. And yes, okay, Game 7 of the World Series, we get it. It's cool. You started the day before, you threw 90 pitches, and then you close out Game 7 of the World Series. Like,
5
okay,
straight.
Whatever.
Doesn't happen.
But 5 straight in winter ball. It's hilarious. It's absurd. Steven Nagosic, just so you know, again, pitched to the Mets briefly, 19-23. I'm just seeing this now. I didn't realize, spent basically all of this season in AAA with the Royals. Made 41 appearances with them. Never made it up.
That's because he didn't go back to back to back to back to back to back.
He didn't. It'd be interesting to see how many times he even went back to back with the Royals in AAA. Just scanning, it looks like he literally did it 0 times. So he did go to Mexico. More likely he did it there. But the fact that this guy did not go back to back once all season in AAA and then 5 days in a row for last place Escogido fires us up. So cheers to you, Steven Nagosic. I hope you're spending today, an off day, on the beach with as much ice as you can possibly get, because God knows you'll be right back out there tomorrow on Tuesday because they need you.
Get that man a Dolo Nurmi. All right. That is our episode of Baseball Barbacast. Jordan, thank you for doing it with me. We're going to go down to the lobby. I actually might grab another hour of shut-eye. I'm not going to lie about that.
I need to find some food, but thank you to Andrew Hartz and Ingrid Rosas for producing. We will see what transactions they give us. If we get something really spicy, we will hop on these mics as soon as possible. Otherwise, you will hear from us again on Wednesday. Thank you all for listening to Baseball Barbacast. Email us baseballbarbacast@gmail.com. We'll talk to you all very soon. Bye-bye.